If you're watching this as a video, you can see I'm in a hotel room. I was laying in bed. I'm at a conference in Austin, Texas, getting ready to deliver a workshop on the first 100 days. And I was laying in bed last night reading this book, The Science of Scaling by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Blake Erickson. And it reminded me of something I came across years ago in my business. So when I was trying to go from 80 hours down to just 25, one of the things that I implemented was Warren Buffett's two-list strategy. So it's so simple and so effective. Now, he uses this with his employees to focus their efforts and energy, and as a corporation, to focus their efforts and energy and really determine their priorities to determine their actions. And given that Berkshire Hathaway is worth well over $500 billion, I'd say it's probably a pretty effective strategy. And as an advisor, I always had no less than what felt like a zillion things going on, different things to focus on. And by doing just a few things really, really well, right? And then you throw kids in the mix and oh my gosh, and life, right? I always say in the intro, I'm a daughter, I was a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm a sister, I'm a community member. There's so many hats that we wear. So here is how the two list strategy works. Number one, you want to sit down and you want to give yourself some time to do this. We want to compile a very long list of goals. Warren Buffett says, write down your top 25 life goals, not your right now goals, but your life goals. And if you're like me, a lifetime seems like a really long time. And I didn't even know what I'm often feeding my family for dinner tonight, much less like what do I want my goals to be in 20, 30, or 40 years. But what I found is by doing this exercise, if you shrink the timeline, that's fine. You do you. I think that's a really helpful thing if you're trying to really narrow down your focus, but really identify like what are these big lifetime goals that I have? Like maybe it's having a strong marriage, maybe it's having great relationships with your kids. Maybe it's certain things inside of your business. Absolutely. And he wants you to take a long time to craft this list. And he says days, right? Really think about it and come up with your top 25 life goals. And then here's where the magic happens. Of these top 25 life goals, you want to choose the five most important. It's so hard. This step was so, so tough for me. And again, you might need some time to really contemplate and think about this step. I reworked it several times to come up with my top five. And a good way to help with this is to imagine that you only had an opportunity. If you could only accomplish five of these 25 goals, which ones would actually be the ones that you'd want to accomplish? So Buffett says no more than five, no wiggle room on this one. Circle them and then move on to step three. Step three is create two lists. You put the five goals onto one list, and we call this list A. And you put the other 20 goals onto another list, and we call these list B. Now, Warren Buffett will rename these lists for us here in just a minute, but we want to keep both of them handy, and they're both very useful, but for different reasons. So it feels kind of obvious, right? When these five are the priorities and these 20 are when I have time, I can work on it, right? Wrong. That is not how we look at it. The way Warren Buffett looks at it is he says list A are your goals. And list B, he refers to as the to be avoided at all costs list. And I remember reading this and being like, wait a minute, I still care about items 6 through 25. These are all still really important. They made it to the top five. And what Warren Buffett says is that because these things are important to you too, they are going to be your largest distractions. They are going to be the thing that takes you away from your top five. And I found this like really fascinating because most of us wouldn't have time to complete all 25 of these items unless your goals are quite small, right? But for most of us, they're not. So spreading yourself too thin is a huge recipe for disaster. And can you ever do any of these remaining 20 items? Sure, once you've accomplished the top five. And I just thought this was so helpful because as I've been reading The Science of Scaling, Ben Hardy talks about raising the floor and saying no to more things and narrowing your focus. And that when you set really, really big goals or you set really high goals, it requires a different version of you to meet them. And you can't be distracted by all of the other things that sound really, really cool and are actually pretty high on your list because they actually do detract from the core goals that you actually have. So if we think about this in business, I see this all of the time with advisors, that we have so many offers in our business and we're trying to accommodate people by doing custom portfolios or things that people want. And it's really a distraction from what our core offerings should be, right? And how do we actually double down on the things that move the needle and are the core goals for our business, and everything else that seems really important, it's just a distraction. So anyways, I would encourage you to sit down. I mean, if it's coming from Warren, it makes a ton of sense. And it's important to avoid those other 20 items until you've accomplished the 5. They can be a very appealing waste of your time. And the most successful people are focused on a small number of goals. Prioritization and focus are necessary for success. So Warren Buffett has proven over and over again that this advice is worth considering. So take some time, get clear on your goals, write out those top 25, narrow it down to 5, create a goals list and a to be avoided at all cost lists, and let's see what kind of focus you can accomplish in the next 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 5 days. By narrowing our focus and saying no to everything that doesn't drive towards those goals, you will see massive change in your life and your business pretty dang quick. Hope this was helpful.